And welcome everybody to this very special edition of Tobs Talk. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. I'm Jake Donnelly. Thank you for tuning in. And if it seems like I'm wearing something odd today, it's because I am. I'm wearing a Rob Gronkowski jersey, the tight end of the New England Patriots, because I think there is nothing more important than wearing something patriotic on Independence Day, and there's nothing more patriotic than wearing a jersey which has Patriots written all over it. The Jekyll and Hyde season for the Wilson Tobs continues. Just one night after allowing 16 runs to the Forest City Owls in a 16-0 defeat, the Tobs down in the swamp in Fayetteville score 16 runs of their own in a 16-8 victory. Quinn Atwood took the mound and he was very, very wild. He only went 4+ innings. He hit 5 guys, and by the time he had left the game, it was actually 8-6 in favor of the Tobs because the Tobs were down 4-1 until the top of the 4th inning when they scored 7 runs in that inning, taking care of a botched sacrifice bunt by the starter for the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs, Jordy Farthing. Matt Remblak was the man that dropped down the bunt, and then the Tobs just kept on rolling, scoring 7 runs in the inning. Zach Callahan came up with a big single. Drew Cole came up with a big single. They would do so later on in the evening as well. But going into that bottom of the 4th inning again, Quinn Atwood hit a couple of batters in the inning. He had 5 on the night, and he now leads the CPL in hit batsmen with 10. When he left the game, it was 8-6. Jonathan Wazak came on, allowed a couple of heritage runners to score. It was 8-7, and then Michael Belcher came into the game with guys on first and second. He walked his first batter to load the bases and then got a pop out to right field. Ben Schmucker making a very nice running catch to end the inning. After 4 innings of play, it was 8-7 in favor of the Wilson Tobs, and they had to sweat it out for a couple of innings, but the guy who kind of settled things down for the Tobs was Daniel Batts, as he went 3 innings, allowing 1 unearned run, and the Tobs made that good pitching count as they scored 6 runs in the top of the 7th inning, making the game a 14-7 game at that point in time. Again, Zach Callahan coming up with a big 2-run single. Drew Cole again coming up with another big hit. Doug Teagarden walked with the bases loaded. He had 3 walks on the evening, giving him 20 on the season. He also scored a couple of runs. A bunch of guys had multi-hit games. Zach Callahan had a multi-hit game. Drew Cole had a multi-hit game. So did Ben Schmucker. Ben Schmucker drove in too. Seth LaRue had 1 hit. It was a triple, his first triple of the season. He knocked home 2 runs, though, with a pair of RBI groundouts, and he also scored 2 runs. Matt Remblak did a very good job out of the 9 spot. Every single person in the Tobs lineup ended up scoring last night. Just a lot of red in my scorebook. I denote run scoring plays with red, and apparently I'm running out of red ink because 16 runs in the game 2 nights ago against the Forest City Owls for the Owls, and then the Tobs scoring 16 runs last night against the Swamp Dogs in a game that saw 24 runs in total. Jonathan Wazak picked up the win for the Tobs, his first decision of the season, so he is now 1-0. Jordy Farthing took the loss for the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs. He's now 1-3. Daniel Batts, though, as I mentioned, pitched terrific out of the bullpen, going 3 innings with just the 1 run. It was unearned, and Daniel will be joining us later on in this edition of Tobs Talk. But after it was all said and done in last night's game, Tobs sit at 16-14 on the season, 2 games above 500. And folks, if you want to see some fireworks, the only place you can see them here in Wilson is at Fleming Stadium when the Tobs play host to the Morehead City Marlins, and we'll see if the Tobs can make it 5-1 on the season. It will be the 6th time this season that the Tobs will play the Morehead City Marlins. Well, folks, we're going to take a quick break here on Tobs Talk. When we come back, we will have head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay, all that and more on this Independence Day edition of Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to this very special edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Joining me right now is head coach of the Wilson Tobs, Justin Hay. And Justin, the game was really back and forth through the first couple of innings. It was actually 8-7 with 2 guys on for the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs. They looked like they were about to take the lead, but you called on Michael Belcher. What made you decide to bring in Belcher at that moment in time?
Well, Belcher's been really good for us the last couple of outings, and he also has a swing and miss pitch, and that's kind of what we needed in that situation. We kind of didn't want contact, and I had a lot of faith in him. And Jonathan Wazak didn't seem to have the best night going. It wasn't necessarily his fault. He had given up a couple enders, off the cap that just weren't falling. Some nights it's not your night. We had the bullpen to play with last night with Belcher needing to get an inning worth of work, kind of as his bullpen day. And so I just felt like the switch might be something to go with, and Belcher did a good job getting us out of it.
And then later on in the game, you brought in Daniel Batts. He went 3 innings, allowed just 1 unearned run, really settling things down. And he's a kid that's done a very good job out of the bullpen all season long. How much easier does it make your job knowing that you can call on a guy like Daniel Batts to eat up those very important innings?
Well, it's very important. When I put Daniel in the game, it was almost like a calm, came over the dugout. Everybody expects Daniel to go out and throw well just because he pounds the strike zone. And, he's not overpowering, but he's got 3 pitches and he pitches well. And that's what he did. He got us a lot of momentum, really brought us back in the dugout, and we were able to put up some runs and kind of take our bullpen easy. That way we have some pitchers for tonight.
And the Tobs roster has kind of gone over a little bit of an overhaul over the last couple of days, with Taylor Nichols especially leaving the team with that lower body injury. And now the lineup looks a little bit different. Doug T. Garner has moved into the leadoff spot, and Drew Cole has dropped down a couple of spots into the 3 hole. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, Doug's a really dynamic player when it comes to his ability at the plate. He can do a lot of different things. He can bunt very well. He walks a lot, which we like at the top of the lineup. He does hit for a little bit of power, but he's still fast enough to steal bases and let us do some things. Drew has shown us that he's got a little power. With the absence of Taylor in the middle of the lineup, I felt like we needed somebody who was going to hit for more consistent power. Doug's kind of scrappy and will hit something to the wall every once in a while. So I just kind of felt like we needed a change. Drew's been in the leadoff spot, I think, every game before last night that he's played. But he has shown us that he can be a middle lineup guy. So just kind of wanted to see what it would look like if we switched it around. And I think Doug ended up walking 3 times and really made me look like I knew what I was doing, but it was really just a guess.
Yeah, apparently a really tough task to do, to make you look like you know what you're doing. Okay, so tonight's game, July 4th, Independence Day. If the Tobs weren't playing, what would you normally be doing?
I'd be at home in Mississippi. We've got a lot of land, and on the 4th of July is a time for our family to come together. And we end up eating sometime, about 2 o'clock, but it is a time for us to get out and work. I think some of the hardest working days of my life have been on July the 4th. We've done a lot of projects because it's the one time that the whole family's together, so we decided to take on some project like build a fence or clean off a fence row or fix something at the farm. But eventually it just comes down to we're at home eating and just a family time, which is really important to us because we do have a big family. They're kind of spread out all across the state of Mississippi, so we don't get to see each other a whole lot. So having a farm, you got to work, but you still get to play a little bit there at the end of the day and eat, which is the most important part.
Yeah, eat and play. 2 very important things. Well, Justin, thank you for coming on in this morning.
Yes, sir.
All right, folks, when we come back, we'll have Daniel Batts, who pitched those very good 3 innings for the Wilson Tobs in the game last night against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs that the Tobs won 18-6. All that and more on this edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris. And welcome back, everybody, to this Independence Day edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and with me right now is Daniel Batts, reliever for the Tobs. Daniel, you came into last night's game, and it was all over the place. One night after allowing 16 runs, the Tobs end up scoring 16 runs. But when you went into the game, it was still a very close game. What did you do out on the mound to really settle things down for the Tobs pitching staff?
Well, I noticed a lot in the first few innings. Quinn battled. He pitched very well, but he didn't really have his best stuff. Kind of fell behind in some counts, got really drawn out, got behind some guys. So when I came in the game, my whole thing was just to throw strikes, try to get ahead. I know we only had a 1-run lead, but I knew if I could get ahead and throw strikes and let our defense just work, then we were going to be fine for the rest of the game.
And you see guys that have some trouble when they come out of the bullpen, but it seems like every single time Coach Hay has brought you out of the bullpen this summer that you've really looked comfortable. What is it about it that doesn't really put you off?
Oh, I love coming out of the bullpen. It's one of my specialties, and I don't know, Coach Hay just gives me a lot of confidence. He allows me to go into games and situations where he's going to let me succeed, and he just does things and does the right thing on the mound to put guys into situations that's going to help us do the best.
When you take the mound in a game like last night, where it really was a crazy game, do you have a different mindset at all, or is it just, okay, I'm going to go out to the mound and do my own thing?
That's what I do every night. I just try to go out and do my own thing and do what I've done to get me here, keep doing the same thing and allow me to succeed the whole time. Never try to really just go away from that because it's worked pretty well so far.
At the beginning of the season, the Tobs had 4 guys who will be going to UNC Pembroke in the fall. You have not actually pitched yet for the Braves, but tell me about that recruiting process a little bit.
Well, the whole time I went to Lewisburg out of high school because I really didn't have too many huge offers, so it was a good thing for me to go JUCO. But coming into the season, I got to pitch at Pembroke in the fall, so they'd seen me a few times and I'd kind of been on their radar. And so coming into the spring, I started pitching well, and actually my roommate from Lewisburg is going to Pembroke as well with me, so they came and saw him pitch a few times and also got to see me. So the whole time they were there, I pitched a few times really well, did a couple good things they saw they liked, went down on a visit, and I fell in love with it. Loved the campus, loved the school, coaching staff, everything. And it seemed like the perfect fit for me, and that's when I decided to go there.
And you've been a perfect fit for the Tobs out of the bullpen this summer, really doing some terrific work, going 3 innings last night, allowing just 1 run. It was unearned. And when you're coming out of the bullpen, we talked about the different mindsets and things like that. But one of the adjustments that we hear batters always have to make is going from those metal BB court bats to the wooden bats. Do you pitch any differently with those wooden bats, knowing that it's a little bit tougher for them to get around on the ball?
I think the wooden bats do help me pitch a little bit. I tend to throw more inside now and just kind of go after guys a little more. Don't try to nibble and get around the corners or everything, because it's a little bit harder to hit with the wooden bats. The ball's not going to go as far, not jump off as hard. So if you can just miss barrels a little bit, it's a lot easier with the wooden bats to get outs.
As pitching in general, though, missing barrels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you do. And did a good job last night, as I said. The 3 innings, just 1 unearned run, really settling things down. By the time Daniel Batts gave the ball over to Michael Wilson in the 9th inning, Tobs had a 16-8 lead. Felt pretty comfortable about that lead after you left the game?
Yeah, after I came in the first inning with a 1-run lead and I kind of gave us some momentum, went 3 up, 3 down with the inning, it was really nice to come in the dugout and see those guys go out and give me a few more runs, make it a little easier for me to calm down and give me a little break.
Now, here's the hardest part of this interview. It seems to really just catch every single guy off guard. So I'm apologizing that I didn't ask you the question beforehand. But what is your favorite baseball memory? It could be from any time that you have ever played. We had John Valek say and talk about a home run that he hit when he was 12 years old. So, I mean, any time when you've been playing baseball, what's your favorite baseball memory?
I'd have to say in high school, I did a really cool thing. I threw a no-hitter, and it just happened to be against Jonathan Wazak's high school team. We happened to be rivals in high school, and me and him faced off one night and pitched against each other, and we both threw really well. And my team ended up winning in 8 innings. I ended up throwing a no-hitter against him.
So how were you disappointed or what when the game was still tied after 7 innings?
Well, I actually wasn't too disappointed because we were losing 1-0 for the game. I'd walked the guy to get him on base, and he'd stolen second and got to third, and I had been on first and third after I hit a guy, and I picked off. The kid ended up stealing home and scored, so it was 1-0 until the 7th inning, and I was like, I just threw a no-hitter and we're going to lose. Wazak goes out there with 2 outs, and we have a guy on second, and we get a hit and end up scoring a run to tie the game and end up winning it in the 8th off of him. So I was more relieved at the fact that we had won the game than really the whole other side of it.
Now I have to ask, do you remind him about this game at all?
Every day. Every single day. I don't let him live it down.
Well, you're a courageous guy trying to needle a 6'7", 257-pound guy. So, yeah, very courageous on your part, Daniel.
I've known him for a while, so he's just a big teddy bear.
He really is, folks, and we had him on earlier. Well, Daniel, thank you for coming on this morning. Really do appreciate it. I know you're tired.
I'm all right. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. All right, folks, when we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of Tobs Talk on July 4th. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to this Independence Day edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly. Thank you for tuning in to Tobs Talk, and I'd like to say thank you to head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay, for coming in this morning, as well as reliever for the Tobs, Daniel Batts, who, again, had that very nice performance last night against the Fayetteville Swamp Dogs, really settling the game down for the Tobs pitching staff, going 3 innings, allowing 1 unearned run. Not picking up the win, but really helping the Tobs get to that win and putting them at 16-14. Well, the Tobs will play host to the Morehead City Marlins tonight. The Tobs are at 16-14, looking to make it 17-14, and it has been forever since the Tobs have been 3 games above 500. The last time that happened was way back in the first week of the season when the Tobs were 4-1. So we'll see if the Tobs can kind of get over that 2 games above 500 speed bump that they've been in now for more than a month. Well, the game tonight, Independence Day. If you want to see fireworks, folks, and it's on July 4th. It is your God-given right as an American to see fireworks on July 4th. The only place you can see them in Wilson is at Fleming Stadium. The gates open at 6 o'clock. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05. I know some of you might be worried about the condition of the field because of Hurricane Andrew. Well, guess what? Just 5 people in the Tobs front office, with actually the help of Daniel Batts, who did everything yesterday, were able to pull out the tarp before those torrential downpours came out. So the field is looking terrific. There shouldn't be any rain later on this evening, so make sure you get to the game right as gates open, because there are going to be a ton of people at tonight's game. One more time, first pitch scheduled for 7:05, gates open at 6 o'clock. Hopefully we'll see you at Fleming. This is Jake Donnelly saying thank you for tuning in to another edition of Tobs Talk presented by Thomas and Ferris. Happy birthday, America.